Hey everybody, it's Josh, and I don't often foray into deep political issues on this channel, but I had the urge to do so tonight, and so I will. And Tonight I'm discussing abortion, specifically why I am pro-choice, and specifically why I am pro-choice as a believer in Christ. So I'm going to get right to it. Unfortunately, the majority of the Christian world believes that you cannot be pro choice and be a believer in Christ. But this is absolutely not true. What is true is that the Bible doesn't say a word about abortion, it literally doesn't even breach the subject. Now, there's certain scriptures that you can use to say, well, God would probably prefer you not have an abortion, right? A lot of the scriptures that the sort of pro-life side uses, like before I created you in the womb, I knew you, and so on and so forth. Now, they generally use these scriptures out of context, but I can see how they could use these scriptures to say, well, God prefers life. I can see how one would come to that conclusion. However, there's nothing even close to anything definitive on the Bible about this issue. This idea that abortion is murder does not come from the Bible. It comes from man's own mind, and it comes primarily from man's desire to control other men. So you can be a pro-choice believer. You can even be a pro-choice conservative Christian believer. And there's nothing in the Bible that would tell you otherwise. Another reason I'm not pro-choice, or another reason I'm pro-choice, is because I just don't buy into all the anti-abortion propaganda that most churches try to sell you. A lot of churches, a lot of Christian organizations make these insane movies that are meant to scare you and get you into your emotions and so on and so forth, and try to make abortion look as bad as possible. And they'll show like the blood that comes with doing an abortion procedure and all this. And it gets people in their emotions, and I understand why. But the fact is that all invasive surgical procedures have lots of blood involved. You're not going to, you know what I'm saying? If you saw a surgical procedure of somebody getting one of their intestines removed, because maybe one of their intestines has cancer, that would be every bit as gruesome as, watching an abortion procedure. So they haven't sold me with the whole gruesome aspect of abortion. Of course it's gruesome. It's an invasive procedure. It's going to be gruesome. Another reason that I'm pro-choice is because most of the scientists that are neutral on the subject, these are people who are neither pro-life nor pro-choice. They really don't have a dog in this fight. They're just scientists. Believe that babies don't even begin to feel pain. Don't even begin to feel pain up until about 6 months. The only people that say that babies feel pain sooner are generally Christian groups, Christian scientists and stuff like that. So I'm very skeptical when someone on only one side of the coin is pushing a certain narrative. You know what I'm saying? And I'm skeptical. This is why I'm skeptical of most of the stuff the left pushes these days, right? So I'm not sold on this idea that if you have your baby aborted after 4 or 5 months, that it's going to be a painful process for the baby. I'm not buying it. When a bunch of doctors and scientists from the other side of the issue, or at least the neutral side of the issue, come out and say the same thing, I'll believe it. But so far that hasn't happened, so I'm just not going to believe it. But here's the final reason I'm pro-choice, and this is the most important reason. Someone says, how can you be right-wing and be pro-choice? It's because I'm right-wing that I'm pro-choice. My right-wing principles in my right-wing value system are the guideposts that help me understand how dangerous it is to let government get too deeply involved in our lives. This is why we don't allow governments to raise our kids. This is why we have our Second Amendment. This is why we protect our privacy so much and try to keep the government out of our homes and out of our schools and so on and so forth as much as we possibly can. Because we understand that when government gets their hooks into any part of your interpersonal life and community, they don't let go. It's dangerous to give them that kind of power. So that's why I'm pro-choice. Pregnancy is such a private matter. There is nothing more invasive than to have the government regulate what you will or will not do with your own pregnancy. Now, I'm fine with a law that says the woman should consult the guy involved before making an abortion decision. If there was a law like that, I would agree with that, because the guy should have some say. It shouldn't be just up to the woman. It should be up to she needed the guy to create the baby, right? So the decision should be at least half his. But when you allow government to come in and regulate something as personal as pregnancy, you've given government a level of power in our lives that is unthinkable. A government that can regulate something as personal as a pregnancy in your life is a government that can regulate anything in your life. You give a government that kind of power, you are walking on very dangerous grounds. All right, and if you don't believe me, look at history. History from really the beginning of time up until now. Every single government that has banned abortion has been a dictatorship. Every last one of them. Without a single exception. Constantine's government. Some of the governments of Old England. I could go on and on. Every last government that has banned abortion has been a really strict dictatorship, without one single exception. It's because, and the reason for that is simple. When you give government that level of power, they know that they pretty much own you, and they know that if they can get away with regulating your pregnancy decisions, they can get away with anything. You've pretty much just given them full power. You might as well grab the Constitution, ball it up in a wad, and throw it in the garbage. It means nothing at that point. So that's the main reason I am pro-choice. How I feel about abortion is irrelevant. How you feel about abortion is irrelevant. But we need to keep government out of it, because giving government this level of power is extremely dangerous. You can have your pro-life ministries, and you can have your pro-life pregnancy counseling centers and all that. But when you use state power to impose your will, you've gone too far. Besides being morally reprehensible, it again lets government in our lives in an extremely invasive way, and they will take advantage of that power in all kinds of crazy ways. The overturning of Roe versus Wade has opened up the door for the government to invade our lives in all kinds of ways. There's going to be decisions coming down because of the overturning of Roe versus Wade that limit our constitutional freedoms, that have nothing to even do with abortion or even anything to do with medical decisions at all. And because the precedent set by overturning Roe versus Wade is like, well, we can regulate this aspect of your home life because we've already regulated pregnancy, right? That's the excuse they're going to use. Whether you're for abortion, whether you're against abortion, whether you're neutral on it. Me, I'm basically neutral, but I lean against it. Like, I wouldn't have an abortion in my own situation, I don't think. We all need to agree that if we value our freedom, we need to keep government out of these decisions. You say you don't want government in your life, conservatives? but you're cheering a decision that just brought government into our lives in a way that's more invasive than anything that's happened in the last 100 years. So you need to think about that. But that's why I'm pro-choice. Cash App's link down below. Please show your love. I'll talk to you guys soon.